Hello, my name is Waylon Lewis, and every week we'll bring you a new podcast with Elephant Journal. Hey folks, this is Waylon Lewis, and I am here with a very special guest. We're going to talk about basic vegan 101 without any dark stuff or guilt trip or Waylon crying for once at all. Welcome, Steph. So, Steph Stevens, what is your account on Instagram?
I'm Life Veganized.
Life Veganized. So why, of all the things you could do you do an Instagram account on vegan stuff? And what is it about? Is it recipes? Is it?
Yeah. So I've been vegan since I was a teenager.
Wow.
I started.
Can I ask about how old you are now? Like, how long is that?
I'm 30 now.
Okay, 30. So you've been vegan for a long time.
Yes, I went vegan at 16.
Wow.
Vegetarian at 15, then vegan at 16.
Wow. And you know, the usual question, what inspired it? Like, specifically.
Right. So I always, ever since I was very little, I knew that there would be a time where I didn't eat animals. I knew I would always be vegetarian. I grew up in like small farm town, Ohio, eating all types of animals, and just knew one day that I didn't want to do that anymore. And then when I was like 15, I don't know, I got to the point where I was like, I'm going to be a vegetarian.
And why did you always think you wanted to not eat animals? You just like them or something?
Because I love animals.
Yeah. But a lot of people love animals and eat animals. Like, what clicks for you, maybe?
I just didn't feel right, like, being responsible for the death of animals.
Mm.
You know,
I know. I always look at, like, I always have a dog by me. I have this really adorable puppy right here. I'm like, how could you reach over and like try to gnaw on his leg against his will?
Right.
It's weird.
Right.
It's odd.
Yeah. So like, I always knew that like, I just didn't want to like contribute to that, at one point or whatever. And so, yeah, 15, I went vegetarian. I actually read a book when I was 16, like a year later, that wasn't really advertised as a vegan book, but it ended up being about veganism. And I read it in like a couple of weeks, and I was like, it like touched on like the egg industry, like the dairy industry. And I was like, I don't think I can consume eggs and dairy anymore. And like, that's pretty much vegan. Before I went vegan, I had no intention of ever doing it. I just thought like, why would I be vegan? Vegetarian's enough.
Yeah. And
then I found out why I should be vegan. And then I did it.
Yeah, I went vegetarian, back in the day, and was vegetarian for a long time. And then I was writing a blog actually on Elephant about dairy and stuff. I remember in the process of writing about it, I was like, this is just the exact same as eating meat. It's awful.
Yeah.
Like I know so many friends in Boulder, including this girl I'm sort of seeing right now, and they're vegetarian. And I'm always like, so weird to like go that far, but not check out what being vegetarian means. So maybe for the people here, without being too dark, if that's possible.
Right.
Maybe that's impossible because you wanted to keep this lighter.
I know.
Let's keep it light.
No, I get it though. I get it.
Well, in a light, as nice as possible way, why is vegetarian maybe not enough if you love animals?
So people ask me, why are you vegan? And it's like, I don't know how to say it without saying like, I don't want to be responsible for the death of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
and torture. Yeah.
And so vegetarian, I mean, in a nutshell, like I try to not go into whatever. But really the bottom line, there's many reasons, but dairy cows are sent to slaughter.
I know how to say it in a light way.
How?
I'm sorry to interrupt.
You're fine.
I was going to say, we love baby cows. We love baby chicks. We love mama cows. And that pretty much covers it.
Right.
And if you're vegetarian, you're doing really awful things to all of those mentioned, as well as the planet. I always say planet, because planet is, if you're vegan, like we were just talking about it briefly, you have to be an environmentalist in my mind, because climate change is going to kill and is killing millions and billions of animals.
Right.
Plastic is killing millions of animals, bears and whales and birds, and it's wild. So back to the light stuff. So when did you start Life Veganized?
2016.
Okay.
So I started with an Instagram first, a couple months later, got my Facebook. It's gone through a lot of like evolving. My page has looked very different over the years, but 2016 was when it started.
What phases did it go through? Like all recipes or all you?
Yeah. So at first, like So
like, was it all you for a while? Like
No.
sort of style fashion?
absolutely not.
Okay.
No, like it was like the opposite.
Okay.
So when I first started, it was actually, I used to, when I lived in Ohio, I'd bring in like vegan food for work, just for whatever, just to share with coworkers, and family and friends knew that I was vegan and I cooked a lot. And people like in my day-to-day like life kind of convinced me to start it, because I was very shy about my veganism. I was not
They just convinced you to do what?
to like be more of like you should start a blog because you cook all the time and you
Wow.
make this really cool food. And
Like friends or colleagues who weren't
Friends and
necessarily
colleagues.
even vegan,
No,
but
not
they're
at
like,
all.
oh, you should
Yeah.
do this,
Mhm.
so we can learn about it.
Yeah,
I love that.
yeah. And I used to be very like shy about my veganism.
Because you didn't want to guilt trip people or get into arguments.
Get
kind of
into
thing?
arguments.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of thing. And I'm still like, sometimes careful about who I talk about it with or what I say, because it's just like not looking for like that type of whatever.
Can I reenact a recent scene?
Sure.
And I'm not shy about it,
Right.
but I also am tired of talking about it all
Right.
the time
Mhm.
with people who actually aren't curious. Because some people are curious.
Right,
Like,
right.
I'll talk about it forever.
Right.
Some people genuinely just like weirdly want to argue with you and aren't curious.
Right.
So I'm sitting down at lunch with a friend who just pops by. Like, I'm not even dining with them. They like come up to me at the bar where I'm having lunch, and they're like, something about vegan, that I didn't bring it up. I also don't do CrossFit, just to be clear. That's like a joke, how do you know if someone's vegan or CrossFit? They'll tell you.
Right. Yeah.
And he or she, I don't even remember who it was like, oh yeah, this is my diet. I can't do it because of this. And why do you do that? And what? And I'm like, you know what? I'm just really trying to enjoy my lunch. Like, and I had to repeat that like 3 or 4 times. Like, they really wanted to argue.
Right. Right.
Which I respect, but some of us just want to get along.
Right. Yeah, totally. And like and I definitely feel that way sometimes, for sure. So like when people like, come up to me, it's usually in person. Sometimes, it's online. I get messages from people who like want to know more about veganism. Sometimes they're like, I used to do this and like be a hunter and eat all this meat and now I feel guilty. And I mean, that's great if they're feeling that way and making the connection.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm totally open to talking about it with people like that. But yeah, when I first started out like years ago, I was 16 when I went vegan. Like I was a kid, so
you weren't looking to argue and
right.
Yeah.
I just wanted to live my life the way that I wanted to live it,
you
rather
just
than
liked animals.
yeah. But yeah, when I started Life Veganized, I had like coworkers and friends and stuff that were like always telling me like, you should start a vegan blog, and I was like, I can't do that, like absolutely not.
Aw.
But then I did, and it was all food. It was, my face wasn't in it, my name wasn't in it. Those like food accounts on Instagram that are like the feed and stuff. They have like straight food and there's no public figure. That's what it was at first, but like on a very small scale. But it was just like all food. Like my face wasn't in it, anything like that. So it's really evolved over the years. I've gotten more like putting myself in it,
And why? As you
because
get older, you're more independent or
I
confident.
feel more comfortable with it. Yeah, for sure. But also like, I think it's not, I mean, it does make more of an impact, but it makes a different kind of impact, which is what I want to make. And it's not, of course, veganism isn't just about the food. That's why I picked the name Life Veganized, because I went through, when I changed the name to Life Veganized, it was a long, lists and process and research and stuff. And I picked the name very carefully because I wanted something that was kind of broad, because I wanted to be able to expand into like fashion, cleaning products, skincare, beauty, whatever, anything, right? Talking about all types of vegan products, not just the food.
Nice. What else?
What else?
I don't know. I just had a gap in my mind.
Oh, you're
I just looked at the cute puppy. And he's totally falling asleep.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, personally, I love accounts that have a little bit of personality, like there's someone to relate to. But I also kind of resent accounts that are all that person, especially when they're like, look at me, look at me,
right.
So I like having a little bit of like connection.
Right.
People like create a bit of connection with you personally.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like, especially, it's funny because I'm on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter.
Yeah.
I'm getting on TikTok,
And you have your own website?
No, I don't.
You don't?
I used to, but I was just like, I could just live off of social media, so I just did that.
And is this directed at like making a living, or is it really just about platforming the stuff you love
I do now make a living from it.
completely?
Which, yeah,
Wow.
which is great because, like, I mean, I've said that like being a content creator is fun, but
Yeah.
being a vegan content creator is
Yeah.
really fulfilling.
Yeah.
And like I've worked for years to get to this point where I can spend full-time hours, 40 hours a week doing what I love and making a bigger impact,
So
right?
good.
And reaching as many people as I can.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't want to make a living doing something
Sure.
that doesn't like call to me, you know, and then just doing vegan stuff like in my spare time when I can.
So how do you make a living from it? Do vegan companies
Yeah.
sponsor with more than stuff and like
Mhm.
free meals and
Yeah.
stuff? Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I do like collaborations with all types of vegan companies. It's mostly food, but you know, I am expanding. I'm doing like, you know, skincare, beauty, fashion,
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
Yeah. Everything you love.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And veganism touches just about every aspect of someone's, like when you're a vegan, like veganism touches every aspect of your life, just about.
I sure
you
hope
know?
so. Although there's a lot of vegans I feel like who are like anti-environmentalists. I might have to work on you a little bit because a lot of the like vegan alternatives like vinyl or plastic or
Mhm.
people are like, look at my vegan boots. And you're like,
Mhm.
what are they made of? They're
Right.
toxic for the planet.
Right.
Animals live on the planet and are dying because the planet's dying.
Right.
Like, let's square the circle, you know?
Mhm.
But yeah, what do you think about that? Like, people are always saying like vegan for the animals. I definitely am vegan for the animals.
Mhm.
This is probably a discussion no one really has thought about that much because I hadn't thought about it for many years as a
Yeah.
vegan. I was like, I'm vegan because I'm environmentalist and for the animals,
Right.
whatever. But you also have to be vegan environmentally. I feel like it's a weird separation.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, I think that I actually made a post about this just a couple days ago. This might be like controversial, but I feel like the term of vegan and what vegan means, it has evolved and changed a bit. Like when I went vegan, you could hear the term dietary vegan. That was a thing.
Well,
I
that's like plant-based. Kind of.
Exactly. I haven't heard the term dietary vegan in like 10 years.
Yeah.
And people say plant-based now. So now
Yeah.
you're not vegan at all, you're plant-based. I'm not saying one or the other is right or wrong, but it's just kind of how veganism, like the definition of veganism has changed. But
my understanding of plant-based at this point is dietary
right,
veganism,
right. Mhm.
but not all plant-based people or restaurants are actually completely vegan.
Right.
Like they're like, we're based, like mostly,
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah. And well,
which is interesting.
the term plant-based is a whole different thing because I just like if you go to the grocery store and you look
Yeah.
at like something, you know, a container or something and it says plant-based, you probably know better than I do. I think it's something like 80% of the products need to be made from plants. It can,
No,
yeah,
I didn't know that.
it can still have like a small amount of like milk or egg or something in it. And like if something says plant-based, I still check the ingredients because
Wow.
it'll have dairy or eggs in it sometimes.
I remember when I was starting off being vegan, not vegetarian, I would get this vegan cheese because it was in the vegan section and blah, blah, blah.
Mhm.
And after like a year plus of eating that, I
Mhm.
looked at the ingredients for the first time and it was like milk curd was like in it.
Was it like Go
And
Veggie or
Reddit.
something?
Yeah, it's a very common brand. That's
Yeah,
everywhere. And it's
yeah.
always just sitting right there. You're like, why is it here?
Right.
It's dairy.
Right.
It's crazy. Anyway, so why the move to LA? Is that for the career? Is it just easier?
Yeah. So I used to live in LA.
You used to be in Denver when we met.
Yes,
first time.
last year.
First and only time, I think, in Proper City. That
Yes.
was super fun.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, I grew up in Ohio, moved to LA first, in like 2018, lived there for 2.5 years. I didn't feel like it was like my thing, wanted to find somewhere else to go. Denver was like the top of like all the lists of like the happiest places in the country to live.
Yeah.
So I was like, let's go to Denver. So I moved to Denver for a couple
Did
years.
you love it? Was it the happiest and top of the list for you?
I mean, it was definitely different. Yeah,
Yeah.
there are a lot of things I loved about it. But it was funny because I visited LA this past March, like 2 months ago, and on a work trip. I'm also a social media manager for like other companies, just like on the side, kind of like contract work. So they had asked me to
He gets scared of noises.
they had
It's
asked
the
me,
hammer.
that's okay.
We have a mower and a hammer going in the background, and a dog.
So I actually, one of the companies I worked with, they asked me to help out with their booth at Expo West.
Yeah.
And it was a very cool opportunity. And it was weird
Can
how,
you say what company or no?
yeah, it's called Veganized.
Okay.
Yeah, they're like a smaller, just started out
Cool.
vegan meat company. So like
Cool.
beef and chicken products, all vegan. But it was funny how it worked out because my 30th birthday was like the same week. And I already requested off work from my day job to take a solo trip to Hawaii. And so they asked me to go to Anaheim instead. And I was just like, you know what? Like, I'm not going to pass up this opportunity. I'll go to Hawaii another time. I already had the days off work. I changed my flight to LAX and went to Anaheim, did that, spent 4 extra days in LA, just rented a convertible for my birthday. And
Wow.
yeah. And
What neighborhood?
I stayed in Beverly Hills.
Uh-huh.
I kind of like went all out. And then I had another trip actually for like Veganized a couple weeks later to LA. But I took those 2 trips in March and I never expected to like want to move back. And I just like fell in love with it. I can't really explain it better. Like, I don't know.
What neighborhood?
Where I moved
Like
to?
where you actually moved to?
I'm right outside of Culver City.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So like west
I
side.
kind of love it.
Do you?
Yeah, I have a hard time. I've never done more than 2 weeks at a time.
Yeah.
Being in LA, I like get to a point where I'm like, I need to leave. Like I've met some party or some event where everyone's like looking around for the cool people and like someone's like, yo, Waylon, you should come to my friends. I don't want to make fun of anyone who might hear this, but like my friend's mountain houses, all these like fancy cars and babes and drugs, and you're just like, no, I gotta go.
Yeah.
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 I need like I find Boulder very grounding. You know, I bike,
Yeah.
zero waste. I got my puppy. You know.
Yeah. I was so excited to come here, honestly, because obviously I flew into Denver. And I was so excited to like.
Wait, did you fly here for this?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
It's so funny. I thought you were still in Denver when
No,
I
you're
had
good.
invited you.
I actually had an appointment anyway in town,
Okay.
so I coordinated
Double
it. So
dip.
this would be
Yeah.
the same thing,
Good.
same trip. But yeah, I flew into Denver, and I was so excited to come up to Boulder for today because like I've been to Boulder like a handful of times when I used
Boulder's
to live here.
amazing.
It is.
If
It's
you're
really
hungry,
amazing.
are you hungry?
I just ate before.
Oh, you did.
Leaf?
Yeah.
I went to Leaf.
I'm gonna go to Leaf like right after this.
Nice.
I'm always like, oh yeah, if you're in Boulder and you're vegan or you're a tourist and you're vegan curious, it's like Leaf. You can go a few other places. Leaf.
Yeah,
Leaf.
I've heard so much about it, but I never went when I lived here, so I got
Did
to
you get the
go.
tacos?
No, I got the egg sandwich.
Okay, everything's good, but the tacos, if you're into tacos, are like
Yeah.
the weirdest tacos I've
They
ever
looked,
had. In the
yeah,
best
I almost
way.
got those.
In the
actually.
best way.
Yeah,
Like it's a weird. They're cauliflower and like blue cheese or something.
interesting.
They're amazing.
Yeah.
They're like addictive. How cool.
Yeah.
What else? What are some issues or discoveries? Like, let's go over. I'm a guy. I don't think about beauty. That's why I just like looked. You know, I don't think about beauty or body care,
Hair,
any of
skincare,
that
hair,
stuff.
whatever.
What are some favorite brands? Like favorite that might be environmentally eco too. Can you
Okay.
shout out anyone
Yeah.
for
So
people to check out?
I oh, God, I wish I knew. So I have
Or
this.
it can be food too.
Okay.
Just maybe a like top 10 of some vegan brands.
I know. So I do use this blonde like purple shampoo and conditioner. It's vegan, cruelty free. It's called
I mean blonde, like it's 4 blondes.
4 blondes.
Got it.
Purple, like bright purple shampoo and conditioner. And
That's the brand.
no. The brand is called Not Your Mother's
Oh, okay.
Blonde Moment.
Okay.
Yeah, but I actually
But
just
what
made
is
a post
purple?
about it. It's like literally the color purple because
Oh, I see.
if you like bleach your hair or something, I'm a natural blonde, but like, you know, I like to bring out the color a little
Yeah.
bit, like the lightness.
Yep.
But that is one shampoo that I really love that I use. I'm trying to think.
Makeup or
Elf. I use Elf
clothes.
everything. I use Elf everything.
Elf?
Elf. ELF.
Okay. Yeah,
I think
even
it
know
stands
this.
for something because it's like
Yeah.
there's like periods in it, but I don't
Cool.
even know. But yeah, I use Elf for
It's
everything.
Will Ferrell's vegan
Oh yeah.
brand. Yeah. Yeah. What about clothes? Any vegan? I mean, a lot of things are vegan without trying. Like this is.
I mean, to be completely honest, like I go thrifting a lot. I like
Yeah, me too.
I like to thrift. I'm not like a
People
designer
are often
label.
saying, and they're not wrong, but they're often saying eco, vegan, more expensive. I'm always like thrift, bike.
Right.
There's so many
Right.
things you can do that are cheaper. Bulk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one thing that gets to me is when people say that veganism is expensive. Because it's like,
Yeah.
it depends. It depends.
I'm honestly, at least in Boulder, it's cheaper or the same as anything else.
Right. But like you were saying, like clothes, like technically if you were, or you know, if you were to get like a vegan leather jacket or I know the environmental thing is like different, but if we're talking like price point, like
Yeah.
the genuine leather, the actual fur, that's like obviously way more expensive than
Yeah.
just the fake stuff, you know?
Yeah. So that's a great discussion. You could get fur or leather or whatever.
Mhm.
You could get a vegan alternative,
Mhm.
or even better, you could go thrifting and get
Right.
something that is vegan, but also is like
Right.
super affordable.
Thanks for listening. Hope you're getting a lot out of it. The full conversation is on our indie platform that supports and continues our work, elephantjournal.com/videos. You can subscribe, listen, watch, and participate there. And when you do so, you'll keep these mindful videos and podcasts going. elephantjournal.com/videos. May it be of benefit.